You're listening to Karle and Kenner's Hitting the Bar for your weekly football news, for all of your football views, and yes, that football banter. One a Tottenham supporter, the other an Arsenal supporter, all here on Karle and Kenner's Hitting the Bar.
Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Karle and Kenner's Hitting the Bar, football from monocles to man buns. I'm Chris Karle. Steve Kenton isn't here. He's still making his way back from Baku following the Europa League final in which his team Arsenal lost. He was stopping off in Kiev, checking out a marquee signing for Arsenal, a 33-year-old in the third division of the Ukrainian league. So in place of Steve Kenton, I've got our very special guest, Geoff Saunders. Hello, Geoff.
Hello, Chris. Good to be here.
Excellent. Now then, we've got a lot to talk about since last week. Frank Lampard has signed for Chelsea.
Yeah.
We advised him not to in our last episode, but he took no heed.
Yeah, but it does appear that he did take one piece of our advice. We said he has to get guarantees from Abramovich that he won't be judged on his first 2 years, since they'll be going without any players in the transfer windows. Well, apparently he got 1 year. So
yeah, but will Abramovich stick to that?
Well, it is Chelsea, and Chelsea have a history of buying these young players and sending them out on loan. You know, they have 33 young players out on loan. So if he doesn't succeed as Chelsea manager, we'll probably expect to see him be loaned to Vitesse Arnhem as their manager.
I mean, they've got more loans out than Wonga, haven't they, really, Chelsea? But we will have a look at the Chelsea team, what Lampard can do with it, and what the Chelsea fans can expect from Frank Lampard. But going the other way, taking over the club formerly known as Frank Lampard's Derby County. Tell us a little bit about the new manager there, because there's a little bit of doubt into his abilities.
There does seem to be. I mean, it's Phillip Cocu, who is quite brilliant midfielder for Dutch sides and also for Barcelona, where he's most famous. Yeah, he took the job as manager of PSV Eindhoven, won the cup in his first year, then he won the league 3 times at a time when Ajax were rebuilding. So basically, if Ajax don't win the Dutch league, then PSV Eindhoven do, because they've got all the money. They're the sports team of Philips, the electronics company, so they've got bags of money. But he won the league 3 times, so he does have a track record. However, there are quite a few Dutch people bombarding the internet saying, yeah, but it's the 3 most boring years we've had at PSV Eindhoven. So taking over from Lampard, who turned Derby County around. Granted, they were 6th when he went there, 6th when he left. But he did develop these young players, and they were playing much more attractive football, and the Derby fans loved him. To come to a sort of Jose Mourinho light, maybe, is possibly not what Derby County are after. But it seems to be a creative appointment. I mean, nobody up front was thinking about Cocu as a possible. So, fair play to them. It could well work.
No, we shall see what happens there. But an unknown factor, really, Cocu.
Very much so, yeah.
As is Frank Lampard to Chelsea. I mean, in a way, it's a no-brainer because he's a big fan and a big, fan favourite at Chelsea. A Chelsea legend to most and many.
Yes.
He came out this week and, in his press conference and said, I don't want to be judged on my playing days. That's got nothing to do with it. And what I did here as a player will very soon be forgotten if things start to get tough.
Well, I mean, it's very realistic of him. And what a change. I mean, contrast that to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who in those first 13 weeks at Manchester United, all he ever talked about was what I did with Man United, what Man United did in the past. And Lampard is saying, look, what happened in the past doesn't matter. I'll be judged on what happens today and tomorrow. And for that, he's being very realistic. So, I wish him luck. I still think it's a mistake. I think he should have stayed at Derby, got them promoted, because the reality is that the Chelsea job will become available in 2 years anyway. It always does.
Yeah, whether it was him that leaves or him that comes in.
Yeah.
14 months in total at Derby. Obviously, that includes pre-season and post-season, I suppose. So 1 full season, that's all he's had. So little experience to go to such a, let's say, a big club. They are third. They were third in the league. They won the Europa League over, under Abramovich's tenureship. They've won the league several times. They've won many trophies. They are a big club.
They are a very big club, but I think an awful lot of football in the dressing room is about show us your medals, and he can. So the players are going to buy into anything he says, and it could well work if he does develop these young players that Chelsea have got a lot of, some of whom played under him at Derby. Then it might well work. Who knows? Who are they competing with for that fourth spot in Champions League spot? Who are they competing with? Arsenal? Well, you're having a laugh. Manchester United, they're going to be competing in the Everton Cup. Yeah. So, the core of that team is still a very, very good team. Pulisic comes in to replace Hazard. They've signed Kovacevic, which makes no sense to me at all. I don't know what he does. They play with 10 men whenever they put him on the pitch. So to me, it's a nonsense. But the core of that team is a very good team. They're they're experienced professionals. They know what they're doing. So in a sense, he's probably got to screw it up, really.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the advantage, if you want to call it advantage, of there being no transfers available, so that's always something they can look at and say, well, his hands were tied. They have lost Hazard. I was concerned, I suppose, that they would struggle this season, but you've pointed out that who are they competing at? Liverpool and Manchester City, obviously first and second.
They're the top two, yeah. No question.
Tottenham, made a couple of good signings already.
Yeah.
So they're going to be competing for top four. That leaves one space available to Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United. As you say, Arsenal, Man United not ready for top four.
Maybe Wolves.
Or maybe even Wolves.
But not Everton.
Not Everton, no. We did meet a fan, didn't we, of Everton, who told us that a couple of weeks ago that Everton would be a definite top four shoe-in this season because they'd signed a player that had been playing for them.
Andre Gomez, yeah.
Yeah. They signed him, but he was already playing last season.
Yeah, he kept... We tried to say, but you were 17 points behind Tottenham. How are you going to make up 17 points? Oh, we signed Gomez. Yeah, but he played for you all last season. So how is that a change?
It's not going to change. So Everton are not going to be competing for top
Wolves
four.
Might. Wolves might.
Wolves might. They're going to struggle a little bit game-wise because they're going to be playing in the Europa League in the next few weeks. But that might make it a bit difficult for them. But they are a very good team. So that's a competition. Chelsea could still and probably still will finish top four then.
I suspect they will. And as far as Wolves go, if they treat the early stages of the Europa League as pre-season friendlies, not caring whether they actually win them or not, then they've almost got nothing to lose, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, Burnley took it very, very seriously, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And they tried to push through and get through as many rounds as they could, and that did kind of affect them later on in the season.
Well, yeah, there is another big difference between Wolves and Burnley. Wolves have got this deal with Jorge Mendes to find them players from Portugal and Spain and South America. So their pool of players is much bigger than Burnley's, which is, Burnley don't have a lot of money. Yeah. They have a small squad. And in that small squad, they really do have a first 11 and some others.
Yeah, so we're looking at Wolves being stronger than Burnley, and
I think,
pushing for fourth or fifth possibly.
I think so. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's just move on from that. That's sort of a natural progression. We were talking about Cocu and what he's going to be bringing to Derby. Fans don't like winning ugly 1-0, do they? They want to see entertainment.
They do.
With the Mourinho years at Chelsea, Allardyce at your team, West Ham. I mean, talk us through that a little bit. When West Ham, traditionally, and I know it's something West Ham fans do like to bang on about, playing the West Ham way. But what is that, and what was the difference, and why did it...
Well, I mean, this West Ham way in the academy, it goes back to when Ron Greenwood went to West Ham as manager. He came from Arsenal, where he was a centre-half, and then he did his coaching at Arsenal. And he, in his interview with the directors at West Ham, he said, look, forget about winning the league. Our pitch is too small, which was true. Upton Park's pitch was much too small to win the league. So if we're not going to win the league, what do we have to do to keep fans coming every other week? We've got to play really good football. And so it was a really conscious decision to do that. And he did it. And then maybe he just got lucky with the youth team players who came through. Bobby Moore, Geoff Hurst, Martin Peters, and a few others. So there is this history of attractive attacking football. And to go to someone like Allardyce, to be fair, Allardyce is not as bad as people paint him out to be. But it's not what West Ham fans want to see.
No.
They want to see the ball on the ground, passed quickly. They want to see good wingers, attackers taking on defenders. And no, we're not going to win the league. We're probably not going to make top 7. But it's going to be attractive to watch, and you're going to keep coming back.
Yeah, I often wondered, watching teams like, in the last 20 years, when teams have gone on and won the league, as Chelsea did, and Arsenal have been known, boring Arsenal, what it's like to watch your team win 1-0 every week.
Well,
it can be quite boring and,
exactly.
predictable.
And, one of the first proper match that I ever went to was Arsenal against Sunderland, which was a 1-0 win to Arsenal. And it was actually, if you watch that film about the boy who's an Arsenal fan, can't remember who it was, Nick Hornby.
Yeah, Nick Hornby book,
yeah.
Yeah.
He mentions this match as the following one that he went to. That's the first match I ever went to. And he had 50,000 people in Highbury slagging off their own team. And that's, and just to me, I was thought, well, that's the result of this boring football. They've got nothing attractive to focus on and be happy about. So they slag off John Samuels, who was quite a brilliant inside forward, actually. But the Arsenal fans didn't like him.
Yeah, that's part of the beauty of football, though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
The unpredictability about it. Before we move on, just a quick shout-out. Big thanks to Our Bar for letting us record here in the El Zoco Centre, Cala Honda, down here on the Costa del Sol. Big thanks to Stewart Hill Exclusive Wines. You can find them at stewarthilluk.com. They provide distributors with fine wines, organic cheeses and teas, and, of course, exclusive cigars. And you can find more about them on that website, stewarthilluk.com. Thanks to TaxiPoint and My Taxi as well for their support. Before we move on, Geoff, you've got a trivia question for us that we're going to announce at the answer at the end of the show.
Right, okay. In the Africa Cup of Nations is going on at the moment, and in the match between Mali and Mauritania, the first goal was scored by Adam Traore in the 55th minute. Then he was substituted. The fourth goal in Mali's 4-1 win was also scored by Adam Traore. So how was that possible?
It's a Twilight Zone question for you there. Yeah. How did that happen? And Geoff will give you the answer at the end of the show. Let's move on. We talk about fans wanting to see attractive football. You want the unpredictability, which is one of the beauties of being a Tottenham fan, I have to say. You never know what's going to happen. Yes. Go on,
I think we do.
I think we do. Yeah.
I think we know they're going to do a Spurs at the end.
It's all going to go wrong, at some point, yes. It's just, I think it's the anticipation of when will it be.
Well, exactly. Well,
it's like balancing on the edge of a cliff, wondering when you're going to fall.
Well, that's it. And as they say, it's the hope that kills you.
It is the hope, yeah. I can do with the depression and the disappointment. It's the hope that gets you, isn't it? Yeah. But fans pay a lot of money. Now, you've got some interesting sort of comparisons about price rises since the Premier League began.
I don't know why, but I just started to look at it. Since the Premier League began, the retail price index, in other words, how much prices have gone up on average, prices have gone up 64%, okay, since the Premier League started. Surprised me it was that low, but we've had a long period of low inflation. The value of gold has gone up 400%.
Right.
So why didn't I get into gold in 1992? But no, that's another one. Oil has gone up 400%. Mm-hmm. Do you want to have a guess how much English Premier League ticket prices have gone up in that period?
Well, you see, this is the thing. You're talking about sort of things that people trade on multi-million platforms, and then you're talking about how much a working man or working woman has to pay for a ticket. So gold's gone up, what was it, 400%?
400%.
Gold's gone up 400%.
And the RPI has gone up 64%.
Right, so...
Right, English Premier League ticket prices have gone up 600%. That's
absolutely scandalous.
50% more than gold in that period.
So when they say, they're worth more than gold, these tickets, they really are.
Well, they really are, yeah. And, it's okay for, if you assume your average fan is some young guy with a good job, that's fine. But what the fans used to be, working men taking their kids.
Yeah, working class game.
Yeah. Now, if it's 80 quid a ticket, and you've got to pay 80 quid for your son as well, and hot dogs and a programme, and you've got to get there. And transport in London and anywhere in the UK is horrendously expensive. How do people afford it?
I mean, yes, £80 for one ticket. There's two of you. Even to the kids' concession, let's say it's half price. That's 120. Two of you to get across London. That takes it to, 140?
Yeah.
Plus your hot dog and your beer and your Coca-Cola. You're talking the best part of £200 by the time you put a scarf on a programme.
So it's 100 quid a week during
and a parking fine.
Yeah, 100 quid a week during the football season, basically.
That's because you're not going to go to every away game, are you, I suppose?
No.
But that's whatever that is. That's £3,800.
Yeah.
You're talking about. But four grand, you've got to find at least.
So you've got to earn 6,000 to watch your team.
To cover it.
Yeah.
And who earns that kind of money? Even, you know, if you live in London, with London waiting and everything, your wages obviously are equivalent to, you know, the rent prices and everything. But, I mean, if you're living in Sunderland or Birmingham or wherever it happens to be, or Manchester, it's still the same, isn't it? It's still relatively. Yeah. How do you find £100 a week out of an average? What is an average salary? I mean, what, 500, £400 a week?
500 quid a week, yeah.
So you're talking 20% of your salary going on an hour and a half's dubious entertainment.
Well, it's about 25% after tax and NI, because the government want their share as well.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah. And as we know, you know, the ball actually spends more time out of play than it does in. So you're probably getting a good 48 minutes entertainment for that money.
Yeah.
You know, it is. I mean, we know that, you know, 65 million for a midfielder from Lyon for Tottenham, a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, you know, a record for Tottenham. We know that the prices of players are skyrocketing. We know the stadium cost $1 billion. But surely, and they don't make the money from the fans, though. The clubs don't make the money from the fans.
It's a very small part of their income, yeah.
It really is.
Why don't they make it affordable?
But that was exactly going to be my point. I actually discussed this very topic with Simon Jordan, the ex-Crystal Palace owner, and he said that very often people would come to him and say, this is our club. And he would say, it's not, though. It belongs to me. Or it belongs, you know, Manchester United belongs to the Glazers. It's not your club. It's a business. And I can do with it, or they can do with it what they like. It's not your club. However, and the point being that he said, I don't make the money from the ticket prices. You paying your 50 quid to come and see Palace against Huddersfield is not what's paying the players' wages. It's got nothing to do with that. And I think possibly the fans have got forgotten along the way because of the TV money.
Well, yeah, but take Simon Jordan's argument. Then you turn it round on him and say, well, okay, if it isn't the fan income, the ticket income, which is paying the players, why don't you make it affordable for the fans then?
Well, yes, exactly.
Because what are you losing? You're losing relatively very little. So if you're getting 7-8% of your income is ticket revenue, which is what it is, why not make it 6% and just make it affordable? Look at Borussia Dortmund and that fantastic stadium with that wall of yellow. They're standing, those people. They're standing.
Incredible sight, yes.
Yeah, and they're paying 15 or 20 euros to get in.
15 euros to get... I mean, you're talking about a Champions League team here.
Yeah, exactly.
A very, very good one. And 15, 20 euros to get... That seems fair. I mean, if you're getting... Because, we obviously there's season tickets and all that kind of thing. But you do see... empty seats at the top 4, top 6. You do see empty seats.
Yeah.
Manchester United taking on Wolverhampton or whatever, empty seats. Now, you're a businessman, I'm not, but surely if you cut the price by a third, you'd get a third more people, or whatever it is, the calculation. More people would turn up, and you've still got to steward it, you've still got to have the lights on, whether you've got 10 people or 15 people there. Yeah. It's not going to cost you any more to have more people there.
No, I mean, it's a nonsense to me, and they're just ripping off the fans.
Yeah, I think because it's getting the last single dregs out of people, when it's not necessary.
And there is one other thing, that when people complain about the lack of atmosphere at Arsenal, well, do middle-class men earning 100 grand a year, do they chant and sing?
No, of course not.
I don't think so. No,
only at their Mason's Lodge.
Yes.
They're probably chanting there. All right, we'll move on, but that is our complaint. Bring the ticket prices down. Create a better atmosphere. It's not going to cost the club anything, is it, in the long run?
Relatively, it's not.
Relatively, yeah.
No.
Let's move on. Just a topic that I wanted to bring up, the Women's World Cup. A lot of people saying, of course, men, that not interested in it. It's boring, it's irrelevant. The semi-final, USA against England, which England sadly lost, we'll talk about why in a moment. Nearly 12 million people in Britain watched that. The highest ever. I mean, that just broke all records. Nearly 12 million. Now, there's 66 around there, million people in the UK. 12 million of them watched that final.
Yeah,
that's an incredible statistic. Well done to Phil Neville and the Lionesses for getting as far as they did. They had a goal disallowed via VAR.
Yeah, for offside.
Offside. It was a toe offside, wasn't it? I think, or a boot offside.
Yeah, that just shows the nonsense of the offside law as it stands at the moment.
Well, that's what I want to discuss. But before we get to that, because it applies to men's professional football as well as women's, obviously, they then had a penalty, which I don't think was a penalty anyway, actually, that was saved. And America went on to win 2-1. Before we go back to VAR, what do you make of the American players' goal celebration where she mimicked drinking a cup of tea?
I thought that was outrageous. I mean, Celebration is one thing, but insulting and rubbing the nose of your opponents in it is an entirely different thing. That was not a celebration. That was a calculated insult. She practiced to make that insult.
Yes,
I think it's outrageous.
It wasn't spur of the moment, was
No.
it? No. I mean, she made up something that it was something to do with that's the tea, which means that's the ticket, or
No.
I don't know. But
Nonsense.
That's covering a.
That happening that close to Independence Day and the Boston Tea Party and everything. Everybody knew what that was about.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to go into the history of British colonialism. Possibly we deserve a little bit of a snubbing. But however, it's a sporting occasion, and rubbing the opponent's nose in it, you felt that was a little bit.
No, it was just an insult. Why insult the opponents? I mean, why? It's
So
a
do
nonsense.
you
Don't do it.
Do you see a difference from when Dele Alli, for example, cups his hand behind his ear to the Arsenal fans when he scores, as if to say, "You're not singing now"? That's different from Mim picking a cup of tea because of the implications of it.
Yeah. Because his is a response to something that's
happened on the pitch. So it's more of an emotional thing. And
there was no. She wasn't responding to anything.
Right.
She decided to do it before. She practiced it, and it was just an insult, and there was no reason.
No need for it in sport or anywhere.
No.
All right, let's just go back to the VAR incident, the offside rule. Not because of that particular game. By the way, England did very well, did as well as the men's team, got to a semi-final. Of course, failed at the last.
In terms of the results, they if he'd left the team as it was before, and he hadn't changed their strategy, he'd probably maybe he could have won.
Yeah,
but by bringing, was it Paris? I can't remember. Inside to a position that she's not used to playing. When all the attacking and all the width was outside, where she'd been very successful in the World Cup so far, it made no sense to me to make that change.
Tactical mistake.
Yeah.
A lot of people saying, unlucky for England, because in the other semi-final it was the Netherlands and Sweden, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And people saying that, if England had come up against either of those, they'd have beaten them easily.
Well,
the USA are a very good team.
USA are a very good team. And the results they've had, the goals for versus goals against, has not reflected how superior they've been.
Right. So well done to them, despite their rather inappropriate goal celebration. VAR offside. Everybody thought that was a goal. Nobody protested, not from the USA team, not from the USA bench or trainers. Then it went to VAR, as it does. There's always a little break, isn't there, while they decide whether to do that or not. They went to VAR, and it was decided that what was it, a boot offside or something?
Yeah, almost like her toe. Now, what's the purpose of the offside rule? It's to stop goal hanging, stop your attacker hanging around. That wasn't goal hanging. Also, the offside law states that the player must be clearly and obviously offside. Well, she wasn't clearly and obviously offside, so why did they refer it to VAR?
No, I thought it was a very, very bad decision, because I agree with you that you've got the defender and the attacker running towards the ball together. The attacker, in a split second, had a longer leg and a leg slightly further than the other one towards the ball or into the penalty area.
Yeah, but their legs are moving, and it just happens that at that second, her leg happened to be a bit in front of the other.
Yes,
if their legs had been moving at the same time, obviously this is sort of like radio, and you can't see it, but I'm waggling my fingers like two people's legs. But if they'd been moving at the same time, it wouldn't have been offside.
Actually,
their bodies are in exactly the same position in either case. The problem with the law is that they relate it to how far forward you are. If they did it with the back, it would be fairer. And
that makes sense, because
I think they've got to look at that, because the way they interpret the law and apply the law is not complying with the reason for having the law in the first place.
No, I mean, it's an interesting point you make, because it's like a photo finish at the races. The woman, the stride she was making that put her offside, if it had been the other way round and she'd had her leg back during the stride and they'd taken the photograph, then her leg wouldn't have been offside.
Yeah, if her back leg had been in front of the other player's back leg, then she's clearly in front of. So if they just switch that around, which is just a case of switching a few words in the law, you've got a better offside. But you've got to, what does the law say? And it says if they are clearly and obviously in front. And she wasn't clearly and obviously in front.
No, and also, I mean, it's also the moment the ball is kicked.
Yes.
And they were sort of moving and moving and moving. Very unfair on England, but possibly on balance of the game.
I mean, the better team went through.
Yeah, the better team went
America
through.
were the best team in this World Cup.
Absolutely. Good luck to them. Congratulations to the Lionesses for getting so far and doing us proud, because it has brought women's football to the forefront a little bit.
Right, yeah.
You and I watched a little bit of that game, and we've watched some other games. Thoroughly enjoyable. Proper, competitive, professional sport. People should give it more time. Geoff, what have you got for us next?
I was thinking about transfers.
Yes, go on then.
João Felix.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Yeah, João Felix has just been transferred for £113 million.
130 million.
To Atletico Madrid.
Wow.
Which is two things. One, it's a huge change in philosophy at Atletico Madrid, because usually they buy cheap players from Portugal and from South America, develop them and sell them on for a fortune. 113 million for a teenager who's had one season in the Portuguese league. And I don't want to be rude about the Portuguese league, but it isn't one of the top 4 leagues.
No, certainly. It's got nothing on.
But, everyone, all the people involved with him are saying he is going to be the next big thing. No question at all. And, so what's he actually done? He's the second highest goal-scoring teenager in the top 5 leagues in Europe.
Impressive.
Behind someone that I'd never heard of before, who plays for Bayer Leverkusen, 19-year-old German midfielder called Kai Havertz. So if João Felix is second behind him, and he goes for 113 million...
Wow.
I think Bayer Leverkusen must have been very happy on that day. But for England fans, João Felix is only behind Borussia Dortmund's England winner Jadon Sancho for key attacking passes and chances created. So how much is Sancho worth?
Well, he's got to be at least 150 then, surely.
Yeah.
Based on putting statistics matching up the price.
You're talking about Ndombele to Tottenham at 65 million and João Felix for 113 million to Atletico. Soon you start talking about real money, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, who's making these prices up? Where do these prices come from?
Well, it doesn't matter where they come from. Is anyone prepared to pay it? Now, Atletico Madrid are prepared to pay it. And that is a big change for them in what they're doing. However, I looked at their bank balance in this transfer window, and they've sold Rodri for 62.6 million to Manchester City. Martins has gone to Monaco for 20 million. Diego Godin has gone on a free. I'm amazed no English team has taken him, because he's fantastic. 2 years, fantastic centre back. He'd do brilliantly for you. And Lucas Hernandez, 68 million to Bayern Munich. So, despite paying this 113 million, Atletico Madrid they're 7 million to the good at the moment. Despite that, They bought Marcos Llorente from Brazil for 36 million, and João Felix for 113 million, Felipe from Porto for 18 million. They're still 7 million to the good, and that's before they get any money for Griezmann, who's completing his deal to Barcelona for a thick end of 100 million.
So despite it being a change in their philosophy, they're still making money. They're still making money.
Lyon are in a very similar position. They've sold Ferland Mendy for 44 million to Real Madrid. They've sold Ndombele for 56, rising to 65 million to Tottenham.
Yeah.
They've replaced those two players. Thiago Mendes has come in, Youssouf Kone has come in. They're 70 million to the good. The question which keeps leaping into my head is why are English clubs not doing what these two clubs are doing? Why are Tottenham buying Ndombele 2 years after Lyon bought him for nothing, pretty much, and spending 65 million? Why aren't they going to that? And, doing what Lyon and Atletico Madrid and other clubs are doing?
And other clubs, yeah. I mean, Tottenham did that, have done that. I mean, Dele Alli, 5 million.
Absolutely, yeah.
5 million. But since then, I mean, hardly transferred anybody, but now suddenly breaking club records. The 65 is a club record. 65 million is a club record. But yeah, there are players out there. There are scouts out there who are finding these whiz kids or geniuses and young players for very, very cheap.
I mean, we've had a go at Chelsea about their 33 players out on loan, but they've been getting these players cheap and then sending them out on loan. They haven't been giving them a chance in the first team, and that's the problem with that. But they do have a structure there to find the players.
Yeah.
Manchester United don't have a structure at all, and that's why they always have to pay over the odds to get players, because they don't have a scouting other than Jorge Mendes always used to be their scout in the past. But now he's working with Wolves, not with Manchester United. So Wolves are getting all those players.
They're getting the taste of it,
and they're getting them on loan and cheap deals, not expensive deals. But look at the free transfers that have happened. Diego Godin is one of the best central defenders in world football at the moment. He's gone on a free. Who else has gone on a free? Ramsey.
Yes,
left,
now I wanted to
left
bring up
Arsenal on a free to Juventus. Rich club, Juventus, but they saw value when they saw it. Ramsey for nothing. Yes, please.
There he is. Look, £400,000 a week he's going to be paid. They can afford it, having got him for nothing.
Exactly.
He's the highest paid British player so far in history, if you like. Good enough for Juventus, but somehow not good enough for Arsenal to offer him a contract to keep him. I don't understand Arsenal's... You're talking about Manchester United and other clubs not having the right transfer policy and not bringing on young players and finding young players. But when you've got a player of that talent, albeit not that young, and Juventus are getting him for nothing, that says something something stinks in the state of Arsenal there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can only think something has happened behind the scenes that we don't know about. A ridiculous thing to allow to happen. But PSG have done the same with Rabiot. You know, if you remember 5 weeks ago, newspapers all full of, Rabiot to Man United, he's a fantastic player, Rabiot, Man United. He's just gone on a free to Juventus. Does
that say something about him, or more likely it says something about Manchester United?
Well, I think what it says about Manchester United is they're going to be playing in the Vase next year.
Yes.
Not in the big cup. So the best players want to play in the Champions League.
Of course they do.
And Rabiot is one of the best midfielders in Europe. Of course.
Absolutely. And there's Ramsey. He's going to be in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Going to be playing alongside Ronaldo. You can't blame him. He would have gone for 200 grand a week, I should think. You know, you can't blame him for going, of course, to Juventus. Champions League, playing alongside Ronaldo. And some other great players, of course, now.
Yes, they got a very good team. And to think, on their three in midfield, they just got two of them for nothing.
That's good. Now, that is good business.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. Let's have before we finish up, we're looking at, we've looked at Arsenal and Manchester United struggling there in the transfer market and the reasons why. Let's have a look at, because Newcastle, of course, as we mentioned in the last episode, have lost their manager Benitez, who's gone to China, top Chinese Super League club there, which took me a little bit by surprise. I thought he still had something in him for the Western leagues, if you like, or the European leagues. Money behind that one?
What? You think he went for the 12 million a year?
Yeah, well, it might be that.
What a cynic you are.
I am. What a realist I am. Newcastle have just lost one of their top players.
Well, Perez.
Perez, who's gone to Leicester.
For 30, yeah.
Yeah. So I think if I had any money, I might put a cheeky little bet on Newcastle to be relegated this season.
I think that's a good shout, because if you look at their players, you go through player by player, that's a relegation side there. And, I'm no great fan of Benitez, but you have to say he's done a fantastic job there at organising that team, which is the thing Benitez does. He organises very well, makes them very, very difficult to beat. And he did a great job. And I can well see them getting relegated.
Yeah, I think he probably did a better job than many realised until he's left. And then, like you say, you look through the team, you look at how Ashley is running the club. I nearly said running the club. You look at, the players are now going to be leaving in droves, I think. I think there might be a little bit of an exodus happening there.
Well, yeah, but someone has to want to buy them. And you look at those players and there isn't,
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. So very good. Probably the only decent ones are already gone.
Well, yeah, probably. Yeah. It's difficult. It's hard to say sometimes. Does the player look bad because he's in a bad team? Is he a good player in a bad team, or is he actually not a very good player?
Yeah, maybe.
So,
but good enough for Leicester. Good enough for Leicester.
Well, Brendan Rodgers is not a fool. He's so maybe Perez has looked good when I've seen him play. I'm not sure I'd pay 30 million for him, but it's a strange market we live in, isn't it? So,
yes, it is. Leicester, Harry Maguire. United still sniffing around him, not getting anywhere.
Well, United are doing what Arsenal used to do back in the day, which was to keep their fans happy. They'd be seen to be going in for everybody, and then making offers which they knew wouldn't be accepted, and then turn around and say, they're too greedy. They wouldn't accept our offer. If they want Maguire, they know the price. Leicester have been very upfront about it, and they're not going to move from it. He's tied down in a 3-year deal. They don't have to sell him. They're happy. So Absolutely. If Man United really want him, they've got to pay for him.
Absolutely. And before we just wrap it up, because you are a West Ham fan, one of your outstanding players of last season, or last few seasons, has made his second transfer request in the second window, because he did it in January, done it now, and Arnautovic wants to go. He wants to go to China as well.
Good for him, and I hope West Ham sell him, and it's fine. He's at a stage in his career where he knows he's not going to win anything. He's got to be looking for his pension. So fine, that's what China's for. good luck to him. Hope he does well.
As a West Ham fan, you think you can afford to let him go?
I would rather have players playing for us who want to play for us.
I think at the end, it is second transfer request. I don't think there's any doubting he wants to go.
No, of course not.
Talking of players who want to go, Steve Kenton is Karle and Kenners is an Arsenal fan. Zaha to Arsenal. Is it going to happen?
Well, I don't understand how Arsenal can go anywhere from offering 40 million, which is minimally half what Zaha's worth. In the current market, Zaha's got to be worth 80 million plus. How can they move from 40 million and get up to anything close to 80?
It's a very, very low opening bid.
It was sort of like an insulting offer, wasn't it?
It is.
What's the purpose behind that?
I don't know.
And remember that Crystal Palace have got to give 25% of that to Man United.
To Man United, yeah.
It's got to be a pretty decent fee.
So he wants to go to Arsenal.
Of course he does. He's dragged Crystal Palace up from relegation every season. He's the reason that they have not been relegated. And there comes a time where he actually wants to go and test himself against the very best in Europe.
Yeah, that's why I say, why does he want to go to Arsenal then?
I said he wants to test himself against the very best.
Oh, right, not with, yes.
Yeah, so he's got to be with Arsenal against.
Yeah.
No, I'm not talking about the Dynamo Tiranas and all these small teams.
The Valencias of this world.
Exactly, yeah. Of course.
Well, we shall see what happens. We will report on that in the next podcast. But
there is one other thing that a quite momentous transfer happened yesterday, which nobody seems to have focused on at all. Thomas Callas,
right,
the Chelsea central defender, was transferred to Bristol City. Thomas Callas was, until yesterday, Chelsea's longest-serving player.
Wow. Current
player. He was transferred to them in 2010. He's been there 9 years. And when I say he's been there, I mean he's actually been to Vitesse Arnhem, FC Köln, Middlesbrough, Fulham and Bristol City on loan since he was transferred.
9 years on loan.
9 years on loan, and he's now left,
finally
in inverted commas, Chelsea, to go to Bristol City.
Wow. I mean, we
their
said
longest-serving player.
We said that Chelsea have a lot of players out on loan. He's their longest-serving ever player.
Yeah. No, not ever, but
currently. But 9 years with Chelsea. Did he actually played for Chelsea?
He played 4 times, yeah.
That must be a very, very strange feeling for him.
Yeah, and he's the centre-back of Czech Republic in their team. Plays every international for them.
So he's a decent player.
Good player, yeah.
What a very, very strange career for him.
Yeah.
Before we finish, Geoff, what is it? What was the trivia question?
Well, the trivia question was Adam Traore scored for Mali against Mauritania in their 4-1 win. And he scored in the 55th minute. He was substituted not long after that. The 4th goal for Mali was also scored by Adam Traore.
It's very strange.
So how is that possible? And the answer is, and it's a pure logic answer, the substitute was also called Adam Traore.
So Traore substituted
Traore, yeah.
They both had the same name.
And there are, in the European leagues at the moment, there are 4 Adam Traores all playing.
And there's a lot of Dembeles as well.
There are 5 Dembeles.
5, is it? And now an Ndombele.
Close.
Yeah, close, but no.
So could you make a whole team out of Traores and Dembeles?
I'd like to see that. That would be very interesting. That's all we've got time for. Thank you very much to Geoff Saunders.
You're welcome.
Steve Kenton, on his way back from Baku, allegedly, will be joining us next week. Thank you to Stewart Hill Exclusive Wines, My Taxi, TaxiPoint and Our Bar for all the love and support that you give us. You can catch us on Spotify, on iTunes and all the other platforms that support podcasts. Also, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @Karle and Kenners with a capital K and a capital K. Thank you so much for listening. Join us next time.
You're listening to Karle and Kenners Hitting the Bar for your weekly football news, for all of your football views, and yes, that football banter. One a Tottenham supporter, the other an Arsenal supporter, all here on Karle and Kenners Hitting the Bar.